Neighbours. Everybody needs good neighbours.
You are pathetic. You walk out of our marriage after 30 years because you want to be free, and within minutes you're telling me you're going to be a daddy again, and then you have the nerve to thank me for taking it so well. Shut up and listen to me. Harold! Harold!
She's probably hiding or something, playing a stupid game, and she's going to come back, and then she's going to be in big trouble.
Come on, mate, let's go home. I'm not doing much good with it.
No!
Why don't you keep your hands to yourself? It was an accident. I don't care. Give it back to me this instant.
Here. Bon voyage, you silly old biddy.
Thank you.
For as long as you both shall do.
I will.
Brilliantly put together. Some of the highlights of Neighbours, well, it looks as if it's all coming to an end. There is a statement. It is clear. It is to the point. Neighbours is for the chop. It has been a much-loved part of our schedule for more than a decade, said Channel 5, but our current focus is on increasing investment in original UK drama. What that means is that Fremantle, that's the company that makes the show, have to find another broadcaster who will pay for it. They haven't at the moment. Unless that happens, it's not going to go on. They have ended production. Let us talk to Lord Grade, Michael Grade, former controller of BBC One when Neighbours was bought, and it's fair to say was in its heyday. And Cat Brown as well is on the line, arts journalist, who has written a piece about Neighbours, a rather loving piece in today's Telegraph. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Good morning.
Lord Grade, first of all, just tell us how it came to our screens.
My past life has just flashed before my eyes. We were opening up daytime for the BBC, and I needed a volume show that would, be on every day, that was going to be very cheap. And I sent my head of daytime out round the world to look for a soap opera, and he came back with two that he's from Australia. We sat down in my office, we looked at the two. I said, I think Neighbours, and he said, I agree. So we bought it very, very, very cheap. It was then cancelled in Australia. Channel 9, who originated it, cancelled it. And so we thought we were going to lose the show. Then Channel 10 bought it. The rest, as they say, is history.
But you stuck it on at first in the middle of the day, and then you moved it. Why?
My daughter Alison was at school at the time, and she came home and said she'd got into trouble at school. I said, what? Which is very unlike her. And she said we were all watching TV in the lunch hour, and we were supposed to be doing something else, and we got so being the controller of BBC, well, what were you watching? She said we were watching Neighbours. My God, I've got it in the wrong slot. I rushed back to the office the next day, and we moved it to 5:35 so that the kids could watch it. And of course, the show just took off.
And that's the point, isn't it, Kat? Not just the kids at that time, but right across the board, a kind of cultural wave that it caught.
It really is, actually. It's interesting to think that in recent months, this might actually be the one cancellation that actually sticks, and we really have to hope not. It's lovely hearing about how the 5:35 slot came about as well, because it really felt like that was a particular sort of perfect one for the kids and also to watch with the wider family, because then, of course, it branched out into the sort of slightly edgier 6 p.m. slot of teen shows that were airing on Channel 4. And I think the really lovely thing about Neighbours was that, unlike all of the shows that really were sort of aimed at teens, so Heartbreak High was another Australian one, and Gossip Girl much later on, but the people on Neighbours really felt real. They were just as useless as the viewers are and were. Everything was sarcastic and fun. And so I'm not surprised to see so many tributes from so wide a variety of viewers across the board.
One of our editors on the programme was saying she remembers being picked up by school with the words, Harold is dead. and that really tells you, doesn't it, Kat, all you need to know about the penetration.
The show was actually created by the same man, Reg Watson, who created Crossroads, which was one of the most successful soap operas ever in this country.
Yeah, but of course, Crossroads did in the end come to an end, Cat Brown, and that is now the fate that, we expect to happen now. Can it be saved?
I think it can. It just depends if people do their sums on the back of an envelope fast enough. I think the days when we really just associated a programme with the channel, with the terrestrial channel, are long gone. And only in the last year or so, we've seen the digital channel Dave saving the BBC's The Mash Report, now called The Daily Mash. And of course, over in the States, streaming services have been picking up cancelled shows left, right and centre, because obviously social media is a great place for vocal audiences to make it clear that they love those programmes. So Hulu saved Veronica Mars and Tuca and Bertie. And Disney Plus, of course, has been picking up old shows with huge back catalogues at a rate of knots. And we've seen, obviously, much younger generations, like the Gen Z generation, getting absolutely hooked into Friends when, a lot of them weren't alive at the time of airing.
Is that, Lord Grey, what is going to happen then?
I think somebody will buy it, yes. I think it's got a ready-made audience. It may not have the audience size that Channel 5 needs to keep the advertisers happy, but somebody will pick it up. It's a big brand and it'll get a lot of publicity. And it's still a very, very good show, I believe. It's all fairy stories. All the characters are straight out of our fairy. There's Cinderella stories and, they're all fairy stories. Really.
That was going to be my thought with you, Cat Brown, about the timelessness of it. Exactly. Is that the real secret of its success? It's partly the kind of, I suppose, essential sunniness of it, in spite of all those things that we've just been listening to. But there's a kind of, well, you just move on and you get through these things. And indeed, Harold came back, didn't he? Which proves something, I suppose, that that caught a moment and might not catch a moment in the future. In other words, it will only ever be seen as nostalgia.
I'm not sure about that at all. And I mean, of course, Harold came back numerous times under numerous guises. I think one of the really key things is that every generation who has watched Neighbours has their Neighbours. So you played the 80s theme tune in the beginning. I think of the slightly jazzier and heavily inverted commas 90s theme tune. But then, of course, you look at all the people who have started out on Neighbours and made huge, huge Hollywood careers: Margot Robbie, Russell Crowe, Kylie, Guy Pearce, Alan Dale. And I think the wonderful thing about Neighbours is that you start to feel very fondly about the cast members, a little bit like a sort of vaguely distant cousin. So when they do go on to have these amazing careers, you're just like, oh, good for them. And you feel really sort of invested. It is very much like being almost part of a wider family.
And the fact, Lord Grey, you got other things on your mind. The fact that you've come in this morning to talk about it, is it the greatest high spot of your career in broadcasting?
Not quite.
Come on,
not quite. But I'm very proud of the fact that we picked a winner and have given 30 odd years of pleasure to so many people.
Lord Grey, Cat Brown as well. Thank you both.